Hello and welcome back to Bits and Bobs. Today's video is the complete coinage of George II, who reigned between 1727 and 1760, so a fair few years for lots of coins to be minted. Let's take a look. We will be going in denomination order, starting with the lowest denomination, which is the farthing, as we see now. This one is from 1730 and the date is at the bottom. Above the date is a portrait of Lady Britannia. She is holding a sprig of leaves, a staff and the shield as usual. And the words Britannia can be seen around her, along with the milling, as this is a milled coin and people can't clip off the metal content, the copper, to keep for themselves and profit on. The obverse of this coin features of course the portrait of George II. George II was an uncrowned left-facing monarch on the portraits, but in this one he is wearing a laureate or wreath crown. The legend of this reads Georgius II Rex, which means George II King. Now onto the halfpenny. The same metal and design, but it was twice the weight. There are a few more leaves on the sprig of leaves that Britannia is holding, which is the one difference, and of course the date is different for different dates. And here we see the words again, Britannia, with her portrait the same. The obverse of the halfpenny is exactly the same as the obverse of the farthing, just a little bit bigger for the bigger planchette. Now then, there were no pennies minted, or no pennies for circulation minted, during the reign of George II. The only pennies were these kind. You may recognize it, and that's right, it is a Maundy penny. Even back then it had a very similar design to the ones of more modern times, with the number, crowned, the date either side of the crown, and the legend around this. The obverse of these Maundy pennies featured a different portrait of George II, very similar with the laureate still and the clothes, but he's wearing more draped clothing, and there is a lion on his shoulder if you look very carefully. Now then, all the Maundy coins had the same obverse design as you can see, and pretty much the same design on the reverse, obviously with the number and size changing being the only real difference of these Maundy coins. Now it's worth noting all silver coins, including the Maundy coins, were minted out of sterling silver in this time. In this time also the threepence was also a circulating coin as well as being a Maundy coin. The circulating and Maundy threepences both had the same design, so it's hard to tell them apart. Now interestingly, the fourpence was also a circulating coin, or the groat, and it too featured the same as the Maundy design. Now then, here we see a George II sixpence. This coin has a lovely design with the four shields which are crowned. At the top we see the three lions of England and the lion rampant of Scotland in one shield. Then to the left is the royal Hanoverian shield, as George II was a Hanoverian king. At the bottom is the Ireland and French lilies on the right. This is the portrait of George II used in this coin, and you can see it is again slightly different to some of the other coins, although it's very similar with the clothing at the bottom and the laureate in his hair. Now then, we'll move on to shillings, and this is a beautiful design of shilling. The same underlying design as the sixpence, but you can see there are roses and French lilies added in the gaps of the four quartered arms. This is known as the roses and plume design and was used on the first type of shillings from George II. This design was done before the sixpences were minted in this reign, and we see a younger portrait of George II feature on the obverse. A few years later, the portrait was aged to this aged version, and it was in this time as well that the first sixpences of George II were minted, so they had that design. When the aged head came out, they simplified the design of the shilling to match the sixpence. Now then, there were no florins minted in the reign of George II as they were first introduced in 1849, almost 100 years in the future of this time, but there were half crowns, and here we see one. This half crown features the same design as the early shillings, with the quartered arms and the roses and French lilies. And once again, this coin features the younger portrait of George II on the obverse for this design, but around that same time period as changing the design, the half crown too had a change on both reverse and obverse. The reverse lost some of the detail with the roses and French lilies once again disappearing to this design, and the obverse, that's it, you guessed it, changed to the aged head. This one notice says Lima underneath. Some coins from George II's reign did say that. Coins with the Lima mark on were made from silver captured in battle with the Spanish, and was used as kind of propaganda for coinage at the time to say, you know, we've defeated these enemies and stolen their treasure, basically, and made it into our own coinage. Now then, the gold coinage of George II is very exciting. We start off with the lowest denomination of gold coin at the time, which was the half guinea. Here we see it. The portrait of George II is once again a slightly different design, this time featuring less of his shoulders and body, and no clothing obviously as it doesn't go down that far, but he's still wearing a laureate. The reverse design features a lovely interpretation of the royal quartered arms shield, with the crown above, the date each side of the crown, and the legend around. There was also a second variety of half guinea, and here we see it now. The reverse remains unchanged apart from the date, but the obverse once again has featuring an older portrait of George II, but still with no shoulders in view. Now the guinea at the time was exactly the same as the half guinea. There's the first one, there's the second one, the same design, but of course a bigger coin by twice the weight because it's twice the amount of gold. Twice again was the double guinea. The double guinea was a lovely coin to have, but it still featured the same design as we see here, and at the same dates as the other smaller coins, the portrait on the obverse changed to the aged head. And here we see the 5 guinea piece. The 5 guinea piece is a huge coin, the biggest gold coin to ever circulate, weighing over 40 grams of gold, and is a beauty. and still has the same design on. So all the guineas feature the same design, you would tell them apart by their size. And one last portrait of George II for the video. This is the one-off design used only on 5 guinea pieces and features the initials below EIC. So there we go. If you lived in the reign of George II between 1727 and 1760, there's the coins you may have had in your change. So please do subscribe if you enjoyed this video and learning about George II coinage, and all that's left to do is thank you very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed the video, and we hope you'll join us again for more bits and bobs videos in the future. See you then.